What's going on, traders? In this video, I'm going to give you guys two stocks that I think are going to absolutely head to the moon this upcoming trading week. But before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So, in order to go over the first stock that I'm going to talk about in this video, we have to look at Bitcoin. And if you've been paying attention for the last two, three or so videos, I've pretty much been saying Bitcoin has a high chance of going to 63K, 65K. We already hit 63K. Our next target is 65K, which we're pretty much close to. We're at 64K right now. And the highest I think Bitcoin can go, at least for the short term, is about 68K. Now, in order for us to really see all-time highs on Bitcoin or start seeing previous highs, I would like to see it break out of this channel here. You guys see here, we rejected here, we rejected here, we rejected all in this area here. So I would really like to see Bitcoin break out of this channel, which is around 70,500 for me to start talking about previous highs and all-time highs. But for now, we're going to focus on the short-term targets, which is 65K, pretty close to that, and then 68K. Now, the stock that I'm talking about here is coin. I think it's pretty obvious I was going to say coin, right? And if we look at the 4 hour time frame, or even lower, we can look lower than that. But right now we're going to focus on the 4 hour time frame. You guys see it, we have an ascending triangle. We have higher lows here constantly being formed, and then we have a flat top, and then we are currently breaking out of this ascending triangle. We also mounted this air level here. Let me go to a smaller time frame. Let's look at the 2 hour time frame. And so we we mounted this level here, or we rejected this level here, and it looks like coin wants to head much higher. And the key level here that coin broke over was 208. I should say levels actually was 208 and then 210.3. And so we broke over both those levels. We mounted both of those levels. We closed over both those levels over the Friday. And it looks like coin wants to head much higher. Now, in the Discord, I did alert and on the 22nd, I believe this was Thursday, I alerted to get into 215 calls for August 30th, which is this upcoming week. And this was when coin was around $200, somewhere more or less, 200, 203, somewhere around there. And right now, as you guys can see, since we've been in that trade, coin is at 212 after hours or pre-market, whichever. And so as you guys can see right here, I gave the option on Friday to pretty much either take profit or trim down contracts, whatever the Discord members decide to do. I always give an option to take profits before close every day if we're in profit on a play. And as you guys can see right here on the coin play, I am currently up 100% and close to about $3,000 in profit. So really, really good play. I'm still holding about 5 contracts. I originally had 10, and now I'm down to 5 contracts. But I do think coin is going to head higher. And by the way, if you want access to plays like this sooner or earlier, then join the Discord. Discord link is in the description below. But I do think coin is going to head higher. I don't think this is a bad time to start trading coin at all. We're going to get deeper into this. We go back to the 4 hour time frame. We are just now breaking the ascending triangle. So I don't think it's too late, guys. I don't. All right. My price target for coin is first target is 215, 220, and that's hoping that we don't gap up, or you should hope that we don't gap up. I would love for it to gap up. But if it doesn't gap up, then my first target is 215, 220, and then the highest I think coin can go is about 230. All right. We look at the measured move of this ascending triangle here. So how do you measure it? You just measure the open and close of the ascending triangle, and then all you do is drag it to the breaking point of the triangle. So in this case, you would drag it to the point of originally where the ascending triangle was originally broken. And the measured move is all the way up to 250 on coin. So that's a pretty big move, all right? Now, I'm not looking to hold until that point. If anything, I will probably just take my profit and run at around 220. But if it just so happens to go that high, then congratulations. Okay, if you decide to hold up to that point. But the measured move for this ascending triangle will be around 250. I see no reason why that couldn't happen, but I would imagine Bitcoin would have to start breaking about 70,500 for us to see that high of a target. So, really tough to say. I would say pay attention to Bitcoin. Now, let's look at the options chain and let's see why I pretty much got into coin in regards to the options chain. You guys seem to love the options chain. You guys ask questions about it all the time. So, um, to 215 contracts, they were originally for, I believe they came in, what was it? I believe Thursday. So yeah, this is what prompted me to get into these contracts. It has a 5 million premium. I know you guys can't really see the premium. Let me scroll over. Maybe you guys can see it that way. But 215 calls for August 30th. You have a 5 million.5 premium. You also have 220 calls for September 20th, 3 million premium. 205 calls. You have 210 calls as well. Not exactly a million, but 955K, pretty close enough, right? And let's see if we see anything else. Nothing really eye-catching. So, but the main thing that really caught my attention was these 215 calls, and that's what prompted me to start getting into coin. Now, when you're using options chain, I always recommend to make sure it confirms, well, not confirms, but it correlates with your TA, okay, or whatever you use, fundamental analysis, whatever the case may be. So I always make sure if I'm seeing something on the options chain, I want it to correlate with what I'm seeing on the actual stock. And so when coin was down here at around 203, 200, I saw that it was pretty much that alert or that alert that came on the options chain, the 215 calls, it came in at the bottom of the ascending triangle. So I thought that was like perfect timing to jump in. And yeah, and since then it has been pretty much going up. It stagnated a little bit down here, but then from there it just been shooting up ever since. And it correlated with my target on Bitcoin, my thoughts on Bitcoin as well. So everything was pretty much matching up. Obviously, when you're using the options chain, you want more confirmation. You just don't want to depend on options chain. All right. Now, if you don't understand what an options chain is, guys, it's what institutions do. It shows you what institutions are trading. It shows you what hedge funds are trading. It shows you what the big guys are trading. And I always say this. I say this to Discord members. I say this to new traders all the time. If you don't have an options chain, you are trading blind. You're trading with one eye closed. All right. You do not want to trade against institutions. You want to trade with them. This prevents you from picking random contracts that make no sense. And it just pretty much gives you a good guide. Okay, it guides you in picking the right contracts, the contracts that's going to pay you a good amount of profit, the contracts that are going to move very nicely. Why? Because you have millionaires and billionaires trading the same thing that you're trading. So you want to trade with them. You don't want to trade against them. Now we look at August 23rd, which was Friday last week, and even more calls came in for coin. So you have 217.5 calls August 30th. You have 220 calls for August 30th. So that's great. 2.38 with 2.83 million premium. 210 calls. So you can treat 210 as like a support level. 220 calls for September 20th. Scroll over a bit. You guys get the idea that I'm looking at coin. So 220 calls. You got 4.99 million premium for September 20th. Let's see what else. So nothing really too far out beyond that. I mean, I would like to see maybe 230 calls with a high premium, but you don't really see it. Oh, here it is actually. So you have 230 calls for September 20th with a 1.59 million premium. So really good signs that coin could potentially go higher. Now, where does that place Bitcoin? I can't say for sure. Again, my target is 68K, but if Bitcoin just so happens to break 70,500, then we are definitely looking at previous highs. But if you want to follow these contracts, by all means do so. Screenshot it, pause the video, whatever the case may be. See where they are, see where they're at on your current broker, and then decide what you want to do from there. Now, coin does have the potential to gap up tomorrow, so I will be cautious of that if Bitcoin just starts pumping overnight, whatever the case may be. But if it doesn't, then I would definitely consider jumping into some of these plays, all right, or get you an option chain of your own and see what you like from there. But right now, 217.5 calls, I like that. I really like these 217.5 calls for August 30th. The 220 calls, I don't really have a 230 would be one of my targets for coin, but I would more so go for the September 20th. If you're going to pick 220, I would go for the September 20th because my short-term target for coin is 220. Do I think it could go higher than that? Absolutely. I do think it can has the potential to see 230, but I really think you're going to be pushing it at this point, so I would just go with the September calls. That's just me. Do what you want with that information. So that's what I'm liking on coin. Let's look at quant data. So quant data, so this is basically showing you the call exposure for a particular strike point on whatever stock you're looking for. So right now we're looking at coin for the week of August 30th, as you guys can see here. And as you guys can see, there's a lot of call options coming in for the 215 calls. All right, a lot of them. All right, so as you guys can see, this has like the highest call volume coming in, or call, I wouldn't say call volume, but open interest. Open interest is just the amount of traders that's trading this. And so there's a lot of exposure here, a lot of exposure for the 215 calls. We can look at September 20th, just in case, someone decides to pick. that play I was talking about. So a lot of 300 exposure for September 20th. I don't know. I can't say for sure if coin is going to head that high. But as you guys can see, 210 calls got a lot of exposure, and there's nothing really too crazy. Maybe 250 calls you can look at as well, but nothing too crazy, I would say. If you want to go for an in the money play, 200 calls I think is very safe. So 210 calls, pretty much the safest option. But we're pretty much past that. But if you want to do like an in the money type play, then by all means, it will require you to pay more, but go for it. But that's all I'm looking at for coins. So hopefully, I gave you guys enough confirmation to, really decide whether or not you want to trade this. By all means, do what you want. I'm just showing you guys what I'm doing. We took this trade in the Discord and we are up a ton on the play. So it is a possibility that it can gap up. If it does gap up, depending on how much it gaps up, I honestly wouldn't touch the play anymore. But we'll see. All right. It's really up to you. Do what you want. All right. But that's the first stock I'm looking at. The next stock I'm looking at is kind of a curveball, all right? And I don't necessarily trade this sector, but the options chain has been really lighting up with this current stock, so we're going to talk about it. We are currently in a trade on it, but I might do another trade on it as well. So, Baba. Now, I'm not a fan of the Chinese sector. I understand 100%. I'm just not. I get it. All right. But at some point in time, the Chinese sector is going to have to take off. I don't know when. It could be years from now. But if we look at Baba, all right, and this is probably like the only Chinese stock I've ever touched. All right. So we look at Baba weekly time frame. All right. Weekly time frame. As you guys can see here, we pretty much been trading, we've been pretty much rejecting this trend over and over. And then so we'll have moments where we try to break out and then we break back down. Um, so Baba was rejected here. It tried to break out here, but it hit the top of this channel here or top of this trend here. It rejected here, and then it tried to break out again and broke down here, and now it's breaking out once again on a weekly time frame. So bulls are really, really trying to push Baba higher. Now, you can ask and you can say, "Oh, well, why would you take it if it has the potential to drop back into this range once again?" Well, that's because of the options chain, and this is why I keep encouraging you guys to get options chains. It doesn't have to be unusual whales; it could be whatever. Just get an options chain. All right, stop trading blind. All right, but regardless, Baba has constantly been trying to break out of this range. Now, I do have a price target for Baba at around 130. I know that sounds crazy, but give it some time, maybe a leap contract. I think Baba can definitely be back in the hundreds, mid 100s. Another thing that has potential here, and it's not the cleanest of looks, but you could take it how you want. You don't have to run with this. Is a hideous head and shoulders, inverse head and shoulders pattern here. So you will have your shoulder here, you will have your head here, and then you will have this super long shoulder here. And usually what happens is the longer the shoulder is for a particular head and shoulders pattern, whether it's inverse or a regular shoulder, a regular head and shoulders pattern, the bigger the breakout potential. Okay, so the longer the shoulder is, the bigger the breakout. All right, and then your neckline would be at around 105. So this blue line right here will be your neckline for the head and shoulders pattern. Again, it's not the prettiest. You don't have to run with this. You can take it with a grain of salt, or you can just simply say that that's not a head and shoulders pattern. All right, but if you want to consider it, you can. I'm not really like hardcore, like, oh, this is definitely an inverse head and shoulders pattern. But if it looks like the pattern, assume that it is until proven otherwise. This is more like a disabled person, if, in my opinion. All right. So that's what I'm looking at in regards to Baba. So I do think Baba can head much higher, especially if the market supports it. And right now, my short term target will be around $100. We are in a 100 call play for Baba for, I believe, October or November. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong there. But I am looking at another contract that I think is very, very juicy. And I'm really interested in it. All right. So I might want to play it again and like double dip into Baba. So let's look at the options chain for Baba real quick. So when we're looking at Baba, and again, I don't really trade the Chinese sector, but this just kept popping up on my radar. What is going on? Here we go. So there's a lot of calls coming in for Baba. You have 85 calls. This was when Baba was like at, this came in at like when Baba was like 84 or something. So whoever took this is definitely in profit. But 85 call for August 30th, 2 million premium. It's about the only significant one that's about in the millions. But what really caught my interest was, I believe it was the day before. So let's look at the day before. It might have been 2 days before. You got 150 calls. Let's see the premium for that. So nothing too crazy happened on August 22nd. Let's look at the 21st. It was definitely one of these. Here we go. So this play right here, this is what I'm really eyeballing right now, and I might jump into it depending on how we open on Monday. And so you have 95 calls for November 15th. I think that's so safe. I think the contract looks absolutely beautiful. The time decay is non-existent on it. It's a very and the volume for the contract, yeah. So the volume is higher than the open interest. I usually go for contracts that have higher value than open interest. You're not going to find that all the time, but a good portion of the time, if you do find a contract with higher value than open interest, that definitely means that institutions are playing in that contract. All right. So really like this. The volume originally when it started was about 8,000. It's definitely higher now. And then you have open interest, which is at 2,000. So I really, I'm hoping you guys can actually see this. So let me scroll over. So here's the volume, 8,000. You have 8,700 volume, and then you have open interest 2,000. So I try my best, and it's not always the case. Sometimes a lot of times I'm just not going to find contracts like this. But if you can find contracts with higher volume than open interest, institutions are playing this 100%. Okay, institutions are playing this. Usually, when you have a open interest higher than value, that means that there is a lot of retail within that play. All right, so it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I would definitely prefer to be in the place that institutions are heavy in. Okay, so this 95 call for November 15th, 2024 has a 1.94 million premium. And even when you're looking at all these puts, there's not a lot of premium here. Okay, they're all like 100K or lower type premiums. So really like this play. I'm definitely considering entering this come Monday. All right, come market open. So we'll see. But really like this play. Do what you want with it. Check out the contract, see if you like it. We look at quant data here, and let's type in Baba. And so we're going to look at November and like I said, you want to make sure everything matches. And so you look at November and just look at the amount of call exposure for 95. Even 100 has a decent amount of exposure as far as open interest in regards to November. So I really like this play. I think it's a very safe play. I think you have plenty of time on the play. I mean, worst case scenario for Baba, if anything, and I'm not saying this is going to like actually happen, but worst case scenario, and at that point, I would be looking, and this is just what I would do. At that point, I would just look to re-enter, or not re-enter, but add contracts. The worst case scenario is Baba just heads back down to $78, retest this trend, and then go higher. All right, so that's the worst case scenario. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it is the worst case scenario. I just want you to be mentally prepared for that if it just so happens. But again, a lot of call exposure for November 15th. We can look at the net exposure. So let's see. So we look for $95 here, and then we look for November. So decent amount of exposure for November as well. You got 1 million net exposure. Um, we can just options order flow. We can actually look up Baba here as well. I don't necessarily use quant data for options flow, but it is something, to have. All right. I more so use it for like exposure and things like that. But regardless, Baba looks really great. Check it out for yourself, see if you like the play. And that's what I have as far as my two stocks. So now we're just going to go over some regular stocks. Well, not regular stocks, but just stocks in general. Some of you have mentioned. So let's look at Tesla. So Tesla is kind of throwing me for a loop here. And what I mean by that is this might be a really good thing. This might be a really good thing. And something called I can't I wish I like marked it. Hopefully we can find it. So we look at the options chain for Tesla, and I swear I saw like a 300 call. All right, Tesla always gives me a hard time on the options chain here. Give me a moment. Okay, here we go. And so we are looking at the options chain. So you guys got to give me a moment to like really find this play right here. So this 325 call for March 21st, 2025. I think this is a solid play. You have 240 calls for August 30th. You have 240 calls for September 13th. I think this is a more safe play. You have 230 calls for August 30th. So you have a lot of calls coming in for Tesla. But there was another play that caught my attention, and I'm hoping I can find it here. I'm sorry I wasn't prepared to really talk about Tesla, but somebody requested it, so I was just like, okay. And so, okay, regardless, I might not even find it, guys. I do apologize, but there was definitely a 300 call here, and it looked beautiful, all right? And I genuinely think Tesla is going to see 300 this year, all right? Sometime this year, I definitely think Tesla is going to see 300. But there was a 300 call that came in for August 30th. And so we look at the weekly time frame for Tesla. And as you guys can see here, we rejected this area, we rejected this trend multiple times, over and over and over. And we can go as far as to say that there might be a head and shoulders pattern here. Or not even a head and shoulders pattern, but possibly a cup and handle. Sorry, that was crazy. Possibly a cup and handle. It really depends on how you want to look at it. But you can say this is a head and shoulders pattern where you have your head here, you have a shoulder here, and then right now, as we speak, or currently while the market is closed, you have your next shoulder right here. And so if Tesla breaks back out of this trend, I think Tesla can start heading towards 300, and maybe we get some crazy news this week. All right. Now, 250 at the lowest is possible this week for me. Okay. I mean, the options chain shows that. Um, as you guys can see, there's a lot of 230 calls with very high premiums. You may have like 250 calls, 240 calls, a lot of 240 calls, but these have tons of premium behind it. These 230 calls, 14.1 million premium behind it, guys. I mean, 250 calls for September 6th, which I think is a solid play. 2.99 million premium. You have 225. If you really want to like go for this week, then I think this would be the more safe option with an 8 million premium, 240 calls. I mean, there's calls just flooding in for Tesla. And so I really wish I can find that 300 call because that was insane. It was a 300 call for this week, I believe. But this 325 call, leap play, beautiful. Two, yeah. So you will see a lot of plays coming in between 225 and 240. So I would definitely shoot for those. That's just me. Do what you want with this information. But even this 220 call, if you wanted to do like an end of money play, 25 million premium behind it. Hopefully you guys can see the premiums. Otherwise, I just pretty much been like talking to myself in regards to premiums. But regardless, Tesla looks really, really good for the rest of this year. And that's just hoping the market doesn't like have some huge correction or crash or whatever the case may be. Tesla, I genuinely think Tesla can see 300 sometime this year. Now, if you want to go like the cup and handle route, right? So this would be your huge giant cup and then your handle. And I'm not great with cup and handles. I'm not gonna lie with you guys. All right. I said this in the Discord multiple times. I'm pretty bad at finding them or like noticing them. But there you go. I mean clean. Super clean, guys. You have your cup here, you have your handle here. Your handles are typically bull flags or bear flags, depending on the direction of the cup and handle. And now you're breaking out of the handle part. And if you just so happen to break above 230 on Tesla, I think this thing can really go parabolic. I really do. Okay, so something to pay attention to. If the market doesn't gap up, I'm definitely going to be interested in Tesla calls. At least I wouldn't go for this week. That's just me playing it safe because Nvidia earnings is this week. So I will definitely go a little outdated in regards to Tesla, maybe like 2 weeks out, September 6th. That's actually, well, that is 2 weeks out technically. September 6th, September 20th, something like that. But Tesla really looks good. We could look at the quant data on Tesla. Where is it? Here we go. So we can look at the quant data on Tesla and just see if everything adds up, right? Because you obviously want more confirmation. At least I do. I don't know what you guys want, but I want a lot of confirmation. So if you just want to go for this week, 225 calls, tons of exposure, tons of open interest on the 225 calls. And then next up you have 230 calls, and then you have your 300 calls with decent exposure as well. But let's say we want to, go for 2 weeks out. So September 6th, 250 calls exposure, guys. All right. I don't make this stuff up, man. I try to give you guys gold on this channel, especially when we're talking about the stock plays. Okay, I don't think we have we missed. I didn't even think about the last video actually that I put out when I said when I put out those 5 stocks. I don't think we've missed. So I mean, you gotta if you gotta subscribe to this channel for at least that. All right. So these plays are insane. Okay, so 250 calls for September 6th, that's crazy exposure right there. So I would definitely be looking to go for those. And that just pretty much like solidifies or adds to the point that Tesla can see 300 soon, if not soon this year. And I genuinely think that. All right. So hopefully I gave you guys enough confirmation here. I mean, there's nothing else to talk about. Tesla just really, really looks good, especially if it breaks above 230. I would definitely consider looking to jump into Tesla 250 calls if that was the case. Apple. I don't really have much for Apple. I'm sorry. I just don't. Highest I think Apple can go is 250. What I would be looking at is about the 235, if anything, 230 calls, 235 calls, if I genuinely believe that. But as you guys can see, we've been trading within this channel for quite some time here. We rejected here, we bounced here, we bounced here. And so if I was to like assume that the market is heading to all-time highs this week, maybe Nvidia earnings carries it to all-time highs or it just breaks everything down, whatever the case may be, then I would say Apple has the potential to head to the back to the top of this channel at around 250. But I just really don't have much. I mean, the chart just isn't clean in regards to Apple. So I'm sorry I can't really give you guys much here. I mean, we can look at the options chain. I haven't looked at the options chain for Apple, so we're just pretty much going to dive in head first into this. But obviously, I mean, it's expected that 230 calls will be in on the options chain. So let's see. Yeah, 230 calls, August 30th, 4.5 million, 227.5 calls, 830, August 30th. Um, that's it. I mean, that's about it, guys. I mean, there's just nothing really special, in my opinion, in regards to Apple. I just don't see anything coming in besides these 230 calls that keep coming in. So that's that's pretty much it. So maybe it'll change tomorrow, but I just don't see anything spectacular in regards to Apple. So really not much to go over here, guys. I'm sorry. Um, even the charts are just hideous in my opinion. Maybe you see something I don't. Maybe somebody, I mean, feel free to point it out in the Discord or in the chat, the comments below. But I don't see anything special about Apple. I mean, the most I can see is about 235. Highest potentially is at the top of this channel at around 250. But it seems like Options Chain just doesn't care about Apple right now. Amazon. So Amazon is more interesting. I will say that much. It's definitely more interesting here. So I do think Amazon has the potential to see 200 once more. Can it go beyond that? I can't really say, but as you guys can see, we mounted here. We zoom out. We were trading in this channel for quite some time. We bounced here, we bounced here, we rejected here, rejected here, we broke down, we retested the bottom of the channel, then we broke down again. And so now, as you guys can see, we zoom in, and we pretty much mounted this area here, this level right here. So not only was this a trend level to bounce off of, but this was support as well. And as you guys can see, we're pretty much back here and we're pretty much mounting it. So I would like to see a bullish candle come off here. And then we have the potential to head much higher on Amazon, which will be at around 200. All right. So am I interested in trading Amazon? Absolutely not. I'm pretty much over Amazon at this point until it gets close to its earnings, if anything. But yeah, you can do what you want with that information. We can look at the options chain because maybe someone's interested in Amazon. Well, I know someone's interested in Amazon because they asked me. Yeah, no surprise here. 180 calls coming in for this week. I think that's free money. 182.5 calls for this week. That's free as well. So nothing too spectacular in regards to Amazon. Nothing too crazy that's like super out of the money. I mean, we can go back a day or two. Yeah, it's just all 180. Let's see this 200 call down here. Let's see what the premium is for that. Oh, okay. So the 200 call for September 19th. Oh, that's 2025. Never mind. All right, sorry about that. Yeah, that's 2025 September. So yeah, but nothing too crazy, guys. So I don't have much for Amazon. It is great that it mounted this level here. It's holding 175, so you definitely want to see to hold 175. If it breaks below 175, then it can head as low as 170. But right now, it mounted this level, so I do think Amazon, if anything, has the potential to see 200. But short term, I would say 185, which would be right around these guys right here. There's a lot of turbulence here. There's a lot of bears here, so at around 183, 185, I would definitely look to take profit if I would just so happen to trade Amazon, um, short term. Okay. That's what I have for Amazon. Nvidia. So Nvidia has earnings on the way, so I'm not going to get deep into this. What I will say is that Nvidia can see there's a lot of calls coming in for like the 130s and things like that, but there's nothing like insanely crazy that shows that earnings is going to like blow out the park. And get granted, options chain is not like a cheat code to earnings or anything like that. Trust me. But what I will say is that if you are going to play Nvidia for earnings, I will be very, very careful. You have 140 calls for August 30th. You have That's about 13.4 million premium. I think that's solid. I think that's safe. That should be cheap and safe if the options chain isn't like juiced up on whatever brokers or all brokers. You have 128 calls. I think that's safe. If you want to go for like in the money or anything like that. 205 call. No, that's premiums too low. You have 131 calls, you have 135 calls. This is for like June 20th next year, so wouldn't really pay attention to that. But nothing, again, nothing too crazy for Nvidia, all right? And that can change. That can honestly change. Let's look at the 23rd. I was looking at the 22nd and just realized that. But yeah, nothing too crazy, guys. So yeah, a lot of puts are coming in, but yeah, a lot of puts are coming in for Nvidia as well. So that's a bit, that's a bit scary. But in regards to the calls, and like I said in my last video, I don't know if Nvidia, I don't think Nvidia is going to see like past 150 short term. And earnings can prove me wrong. Like by all means, it's Nvidia at the end of the day. So I can be absolutely wrong, and I really don't care if I am wrong because it's Nvidia. So I mean, I wouldn't be like surprised it goes past 150, but I just don't think. I think if anything, if we head to 150 prior to earnings, then that's a bit scary in my opinion. But if we just so happen to like maybe just consolidate here at this range before earnings, then I do think Nvidia has the potential to like hit 150, and then we'll have to see what happens from there. Maybe break down or break higher. But I don't have much for Nvidia. The options chain doesn't seem to have much for Nvidia as well. So what I will say is that the semiconductor ETFs, they have a lot of puts coming in. And like I said in the last video, it just could be hedges. It could be it can simply just be hedges. Maybe they got calls on Nvidia and then they're just hedging the ETFs just in case. But I showed you guys that we could be looking at a head and shoulders pattern forming here soon. Maybe I took off the fair value gaps on accident, but there's a fair value gap up here that needs to be mitigated at around 270. So maybe we head up there and possibly start rolling over. Again, it's speculation. The head and shoulders pattern isn't necessarily complete. I mean, unless it like starts dropping from here, then I would say it's complete. But even our Discord bot has alerted. We look at our AI bot in the Discord and we search SMH. So let's search SMH. Hopefully it pops up. So yeah, September 20th, our well not the date of September 20th, but August 21st, our AI bot alerted SMH puts for 237.5 strike for September 20th with a total premium of 1.15 million. So, and we look at SMH, guys. I mean, I don't know. So we can look at the options chain as well. And I'm going to like try to make this quick because this video is going to be like crazy long. And so I will say that there is a 145 put for August 30th. I think this is an unusual trade in my opinion. I'm not necessarily like thinking this is going to happen. Dropping to 145 is insane. I don't think that's going to happen. I think this is like a trade that's trying to psych people out for whatever reason. But it could be legit. I just don't think it is. But here you go. 237.5 puts for August 30th. 1 million premium 1.1 million premium. You have another one here. So a lot of 237.5 puts have been coming in for September. So something to really pay attention to. Now, we're not like far off from that, but if we're saying that, because Nvidia is the number one holding for SMH, okay, so could this be a sign that Nvidia is going to tank for its earnings? It could be, all right, because a lot of puts are coming in. Now, if we just so happen to like tank into Nvidia earnings for whatever reason, then okay, cool. Then maybe Nvidia is going to like blow everything out the park. But that's another thing. Nvidia has to like really, really surprise for its earnings. Otherwise, the market is just going to expect it to beat and nothing's going to happen. Either nothing's going to happen or it's going to tank. Okay, even if it does beat. So it really, really has to like just blow investors out of the park. So I think I've gotten my point across there. But again, SMH just it looks like it's setting up to be bearish. It's not quite there yet, but I would be very careful. Just assuming that Nvidia is going to like crush earnings because it can beat, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to surprise. Okay. So that's all I have for this video, guys. Hopefully you got something out of it. Hopefully, I really provided value with the options chain and everything like that. If you want access to plays that I'm like this, that I'm going over, or how to use options chain and so forth, Discord link is in the description below. If you want to get text message alerts of all my alerts sent directly to your phone, and you maybe you don't want to join the Discord, maybe you just want to get you, maybe you're too busy, maybe you're with your children all the time or work all the time, and you just don't have time to be looking through Discord app, then you can get SMS alerts sent directly to your phone. All my plays will be sent directly to you. It does cost a little more. It costs like $10 more, only because I have to pay the third party to use it. But by all means, check it out, see if it works for you, and you will get my alerts when I'm opening, when I'm closing. Same thing I put out in the Discord. And that's all I have for this video. So thank you for supporting this channel, guys. I appreciate the comments, whether they're bad or good. If I reply to your comment, don't get butthurt about it. It's just part of the game, guys. So I will say that much. But other than that, that's all I have for this video. Until the next video, traders, have a good one.